into it until...
Wait. You would have been cheering on Anakin while he was murdering everybody?
Yeah. Well, he was murdering the younglings.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you knew what you were saying.
The Force of Others, a Star Wars podcast. Hello there, and welcome to The Force of Others. I'm Zachary Owen Turner.
I'm Matt Boitner, and today on The Force of Others, we're going to talk about Disney moving the Avengers to December in 2026 and 2027, and how excited we are about that, and how we've been talking about that for like 6 months. And then also, we're going to talk about how Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck are supposedly in line to succeed Kathleen Kennedy, and whether or not we think that makes sense. But before we get into all that stuff, we're going to, as always, dig into the mailbag to get a question from one of our listeners. So this one comes from friend of the podcast, Brian Lawson. Do you think a R-rated Star Wars movie could ever happen?
I'm going to go with yes. And I know that might be a little spicy, but with the success of Andor and how adult and grown-up, I feel like we already almost got R-rated Star Wars, I mean, with Andor itself. So I don't think it's that far off. I do think it will have to be its own thing and highly stylized in order to make it happen. Do I think we're going to get, like, F-bombs with, like, Seth MacFarlane on the couch? No, I don't think, but I do think we could get, like, a gritty war movie that is more adult but not explicit, because there's that skirt of R. There's like soft R and hard R. Do I think we're ever going to get a hard R? Absolutely not. I don't think we should. I think we could possibly get a soft R. Either way, if they do end up doing this, I think Disney has to market the fact that it is an R-rated movie so that the 5-year-old kid who loves Yoda and Baby Yoda doesn't go in and go, oh my God! Like, we got to really, as a community of Star Wars fans, protect our younger people and protect those in need, because as Star Wars fans, that was what we should be doing anyway.
Right on. Right on. I love that. So this ties directly into the story that came out about Ryan Reynolds pitching an R-rated Star Wars movie to Disney at some point, and what he said was not R-rated in terms of content, but R-rated as a Trojan horse for emotion. And I was curious, I mean, I'm assuming what he meant by that is just that dealing with more adult themes, dealing with more mature themes, kind of like Andor. I don't know if an R-rated Star Wars movie could ever happen. I mean, it probably will eventually. This franchise is coming up on 50 years old, so we're going to be to 100 years eventually. We might not still be around, but, it's a sobering thought. My gut reaction is to say no, right? And one of the reasons for that is a George Lucas quote that I took to heart and have taken to heart for a long time, is talking about the type of people that want R-rated Star Wars, which is not you, but there is a contingent of fans that want R-rated Star Wars for a particular reason. Yeah. And the George quote is, they want the films to be tough, like Terminator. They want to be real guy movies. They get very upset and very opinionated about anything that has anything to do with being childlike, which the movies are for children, but they don't want to admit that. And so, I mean, if it's R-rated Star Wars like Andor, y'all have all heard me whine to death about how I don't necessarily think that always fits the tone. But I would take that over if it was R-rated Star Wars, like, put naked people in it. Show us her boobs. But I'm saying, if it's like that, obviously, absolutely not. But there are absolutely people that want that.
Yeah.
It's what I talked about before. You're going to see the worst people on the internet next year complaining about how Darth Talon is clothed in Maul Shadow Lord. So whenever I see this R-rated Star Wars, that always falls into it. Like, an example. I think, in my opinion, it is a really good thing that Zack Snyder didn't get to make a Star Wars movie.
Oh, yeah, especially after watching his Star Wars movie. Oof.
And it sucked. It was one of the worst movies made for that much money that I have ever seen. So anyway, sorry.
It was
we're
so bad,
slagging someone that's not
I
here.
didn't watch part 2. Like, I watched part 1 fully on a plane, because I was on a plane, and then and this part 2 came out, I was like, I love Charlie Hunnam. I can't watch that movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did watch part 2, and I forgot about it almost completely. It just didn't stick with me at all. I was just going, well, dodged a bullet there, guys. Moving on. Well, anyway, so there's our take on whether or not an R-rated Star Wars movie could ever happen. I'll watch it regardless and talk about it on the show. But if you have anything else, any other questions for us or thoughts, comments, put it in the comments below or email it to forceofothersradio@gmail.com and we will talk about it here. But in the meantime, Zach, what life adventures did you have this week and what Star Wars adventures did you have this week?
Yeah, I had it's been 2 weeks, but
Right.
It's been a good couple of weeks. Very artistically fulfilled. Had a couple of voiceover jobs come in that I'm very excited to share when I can. But I cannot yet. But one of them I fully did a C-3PO voice in, and I am very excited about it. That was my inspiration, at least. It was not actually C-3PO, but that was the inspiration for the voice. But yeah, I should be able to share that with y'all soon, so I'm very excited about that. As far as how Star Wars found me, a couple of things as well. With this podcast, we got to 1,000 downloads, so thank you if you are listening or watching this. Thank you for sticking with us. We're episode 43, and that means we're at 1,000 downloads. That's a big milestone for us, and so thank you for listening, and thank you for staying around. And if you're new, thank you for joining us. We are if you're watching on YouTube, we're available on all podcast platforms, and we would love to be in your ears. As far as how nope, that sounded bad. That sounded bad. Sorry. We would love to be the two heads on your shoulders talking about Star Wars. All right.
We're keeping it.
But as far as how Star Wars found me, I read Star Wars Jedi Knights number 4. 4?
Yeah.
Yes, 4. Matt has not read it yet, but just to give a quick little teaser, we'll talk about it eventually in great length, but I think this is my favorite issue of the series so far. It is very fun. It is action-packed. It follows bounty hunters going to Nar Shaddaa. And that is all I'll say. It follows bounty hunters, just quick. Bounty hunters, Nar Shaddaa, Qui-Gon Jinn, Shakti, boom. Gambling money.
Gotta get all the hashtags in there.
But yeah, that's
Nice.
it's really fun. I was reading it yesterday and I was like, this is good stuff. But yeah, that's how Star Wars found me. Matt, how has your 2 weeks been, and how has Star Wars found you?
Didn't have a lot of life adventures. Real life has been steady and relaxing and good over the last little bit, at least in terms of that. But my Star Wars adventures were numerous. First off, if you didn't see it, our Order 66 one-shot was probably the biggest Star Wars adventure that I had, edited by Zach, incredibly edited by Zach. Go watch it. We tried to kill Jedi. And having watched it, if I do say so myself, I think we crushed it. I think it was phenomenal. The role players were good. I think I DM'd it well, and I think that I want to do a clone one-shot.
Yeah.
But
it's all just me playing different clones.
I mean, hey,
No, I'm
you
kidding.
joke, but we could do that. But Star Wars, I had some other Star Wars adventures. I dusted off Star Wars Outlaws and started restarted that game.
Again?
Because I just with those type of role playing games, I know. But I try to play the role, and so I didn't remember anything that had happened because it'd been like months since I played it. I don't want to just dive in and go, what am I doing here? What is this? And just on a fresh playthrough, Outlaws does have blemishes, but I don't play enough games to be able to compare it to anything else. And at the end of the day, it's fun. There has never been a more immersive Star Wars game. I just think it's fun. So, does it? Go ahead.
I also have been playing because the new expansion is out with Hondo Naka. And it's very fun. I will say, is it as good as Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor? No, but is it more? Is it lighter-hearted and a little bit more fun at times? Yeah, and I think it doesn't deserve the hate that it gets. I think that game is good and fun.
Yeah.
And give me a little Nyx any day.
Yeah. Yes. Someone make us a Nyx and send it to us, and then we'll send it back and forth between Zach and I, and it'll be the podcast mascot. But, yeah, I mean, does it have its blemishes? Yes. I've encountered some weird bugs. Like, I was going to get some intel, steal it from an Imperial base, and I went to where I knew that it was, and I was like, I know that it's supposed to be in this room, and I have searched every part of this room, and so I Googled it, and it was like, save the game, reload it. The data pad will be there. It's a weird glitch that never got fixed. And sure enough, that's exactly... And I was like, that is lame. So there's weird little things like that. But exactly like you said, it's fun. I got 2 more ways that I had Star Wars adventures. Number 1, the trivia question that I got wrong when Zach quizzed me on some trivia many, many episodes ago. Garindan, the nose bounty hunter guy from Star Wars Episode 4, apparently was voiced by John Wayne.
Well, I'll be dang. Yeah.
Did you know this too?
I knew it. Yeah.
What?
It was not actually voiced by him. I think
they pulled some dialogue from like an old unused dialogue from a John Wayne movie, and Ben Burt messed with it a bunch. But yeah, no, everyone that I work with knew that. Yeah. And they all started slagging on me and making fun of me and stuff. My boss was like, oh, you Star Wars divas think that only the people that know all the lore, they're the only ones that can know anything. And I was like, oh, okay. So basically, Garindan, because that guy is my nemesis, I get. So at some point, we need to do an RPG where it's me statted out as myself fighting Garindan. But last Star Wars adventure, before we get into this podcast full of Star Wars adventures, I am reading the first book in the Fate of the Jedi series. This is to get to actually know the story of Abeloth before Abeloth very likely shows up in Ahsoka Season 2. Yeah. But the premise of this Fate of the Jedi series, at least what sets it off, is Luke Skywalker gets, if you don't know, Luke Skywalker gets banished from the New Republic. Oh. This is the fallout of the Legacy of the Force series, which is basically what the sequel trilogy very loosely is. But Legacy of the Force, one of Han and Leia's twin children falls to the dark side and makes a new empire, and they have a second galactic civil war, yada, 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 yada. The fallout of that is the Republic is like, hey man, yeah, you trained that guy, and you made a Sith Lord, and you are responsible. So they banish him.
Wow.
And so he's going to go on a Force quest with his son, Ben Skywalker. It's all different, right? But anyway, there was this really, really wonderful moment where Luke is getting ready to get on a ship with his kid and leave, but the guy that is taking over the Jedi Order as like Grandmaster in his stead, a character named Kenneth Hamner, surprises Luke with basically a surprise going away party, where like just the doors open up and it's every Jedi that is presently in the Order. It's Wedge Antilles and Rogue Squadron. Han and Leia are, of course, there. Everyone is there. And Luke was just going to, like, leave. But this excerpt from the book. Kenneth Hamner says to Luke, 40 years ago, there was one practicing Jedi in all the galaxy. And the Order and the Temple were just ill-formed notions taken from suppressed rumors. Today, what you see before you, this is your doing, Master Skywalker. Despite himself, Luke felt his throat trying to close. Not alone. His words were just a touch hoarse. Kent nodded. Not alone, but remove any other contributor from the processes, and the end result looks only a little different. Remove you, and it all goes away.
Oh.
Now, obviously...
I just got chills.
Exactly. Now, that storytelling wouldn't work with what wider canon has done, and that what we always make fun of is that Yoda's like, when gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be? And it's like, yeah, but Ahsoka, Ezra, Sabine, probably Cal Kestis, there's like Quinlan Voss and whoever else escaped from the path. But that moment, just an acknowledgement of Luke being successful with what Yoda quested him with doing in Return of the Jedi, is a moment that really, really hit me.
Yeah.
And it it crystallizes why parts of canon don't sit well with me. I'll just say. Yeah. But in and of itself, that's a fantastic moment, and that's in my personal headcanon. At some point, someone said that to him.
Question for you about this book, in case listeners want to know, and Zach wants to know. Where is this after Heir to the Empire? Is it
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. So this is about 40 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay,
ish.
Cool.
So, yes, because you're reading Heir to the Empire right now,
I
right?
am, yes.
Similarly, to get ready for Ahsoka Season 2.
It's so good, too.
It's so good.
It's
so that...
I've never read it before, and it's so good.
yeah. That's only like 5 years or so after Return of the Jedi. This is all Legends timeline, if you don't know what we're talking about, everybody. But yeah, there's the Thrawn trilogy, and then a while later, there's... the New Jedi Order, which is the war against the Yuuzhan Vong, and then we go to Legacy of the Force, and then we go to Fate of the Jedi that I'm reading now. And I will tell you, if I haven't read all of New Jedi Order or Legacy of the Forks? Legacy of the Forks. But, so I know people will be like, then why are you reading this? And it's like, because I know most of what happens, because I've just been heavily involved in this stuff for forever. Yeah. But if you had no clue about any of those stories, you would be very confused diving into Fate of the Jedi Outcast. But I was like, oh, right, that's so... Anyway. Neither here nor there, but that's how, that's our adventures, and let's move into the actual podcast, and Zach has the first news story of the show.
Yeah, this is one that I texted Matt, and we both were like, woo! Because the history is not repeating itself and dooming Star Wars by propping up the Avengers. Disney has moved Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars to December. May now belongs to Star Wars in 2026 and 2027, which means that Mandalorian and Grogu will not come out the same day as Avengers Doomsday. Matt, thoughts on this?
Well, to be fair, it was never going to be the same day, but it was going to be within 2 weeks.
Yeah,
which was the exact same thing that happened with Solo and Infinity War, and you couple that with it being the first Star Wars movie that came out 6 months after another in The Last Jedi, and you put it up against friggin' Infinity War, it's not a surprise that movie was not a blockbuster.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we talked about this like 6 months ago on the show, and I was freaking out about how stupid it was. What do I know about, billion-dollar filmmaking? But I know that you shouldn't put your products against each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mando and Grogu releases May 22nd, 2026, and Star Wars Starfighter releases May 28th, 2027. This is good. This is fantastic news. This is all good news.
Yeah. And
it reminds me in a way of the exact same thing that happened to the sequel trilogy, where JJ, when he signed on in late 2012, was like, great, but I can't make this in 3 years, so push it back to 2016. And they said, no, we announced 2015, comes out in 2015, comes out in May. And he was like, can you give me December? And they were like, fine. So Disney
it made Christmas.
Yeah, I'm saying. And there's a part of me that wishes, I would rather wait another 6-7 months and get Star Wars at Christmas time, because putting my favorite franchise with my favorite time of year is a match made in my heaven. But either way, I'm just happy that they're not pairing it up against the Avengers films, because they would lose.
Yeah.
Straight up, they would lose. I'll say it.
I think it'd actually be debatable if they would lose, because I feel like there is major Avengers fatigue and Marvel fatigue right now. But
I think there's also Star Wars fatigue right now. You know what
true.
I mean? And at the end of the day, for like normal people, are they going to go see a movie that has 25 movie stars in it, or are they going to go see a movie where the movie star might not even be on screen because he's under a mask and he may have never been on set? I'm talking about Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Now, I know Celebration had that shot of him in the armor, but we also know that they were shooting Fantastic Four at the exact same time as Mando and Grogu, and they were in like different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So I will be baffled if he's in that movie. But anyway, I've monologued about this enough. Do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah, no, I mean, give me more Pedro Pascal and everything. I'm so excited for Mando and Grogu. I'm so excited that they moved the date, because I want that movie to succeed. I saw a news article recently that was the showrunner, I think, of The Last of Us, and spoilers, zombie movie doesn't make it, Pedro.
Yeah.
But he goes, hey, if you're mad about Pedro not being in it anymore, literally go watch anything else. He's like, he's in everything. But that's okay with me because I'm a big Pedro fan. But yeah, no, I think that's cool. I kind of like that May has become Star Wars month. May the 4th be with you is such a thing. It was definitely Star Wars month this year. So yeah, if we're going to make it its own holiday, give me May Star Wars every year. So.
And it started in May 25th, 1977 was when Star Wars started. So it was always a summer property, and had I been around in 1977, I probably would want it to stay a summer property.
Yeah.
But there you go. But, okay, but speaking of Star Wars, kind of like the state that it's in, I guess, we've talked about it to death on the show that eventually, factually, Kathleen Kennedy is going to retire, right? Eventually. And then this came out a bunch of different places, but supposedly the plan that Lucasfilm is setting in place is for Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck to succeed Kathleen Kennedy. Carrie Beck, longtime producer and collaborator with Dave Filoni. She's been there for forever. But Zach, what is your takeaway on this?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the rumor is that they're going to co-lead it, which I think is actually a really cool idea. Carrie Beck is actually currently the vice president of animation and live action development at Lucasfilm. So yeah, she's been producing all the way back since Rebels. She has a long list of Star Wars wins. Force of Destiny, The Bad Batch, Resistance. The final seasons of the Clone Wars, also the second season of The Mandalorian. So Carrie's doing great work, and if they have such a good relationship of working together, to then continue to work together to lead a franchise, and not just, Lucasfilm doesn't just do Star Wars, to lead other projects as well, which I think would be really cool to see their influence on other stuff. I know a lot of people, it's so funny because I feel like the internet is completely split on Dave Filoni when it comes to Star Wars fans, and there's Star Wars fans like Matt and I that are like, yeah, Dave Filoni is, like, he gets it. Like, he is the Padawan of George Lucas. Like, he studied directly under him, worked with him on the Clone Wars. I don't care what anybody says. They were hand in hand working together. He is the protege. And I think it only makes sense that he eventually leads Lucasfilm. He already is creative director, so just to step up one more role is not a bad thing for him. But yeah, and then I think Carrie Beck will add another viewpoint, which will keep things from just going one way, and that will also help not alienate any Star Wars fans as well. So I think a co-heads of a company as big as Lucasfilm is a great idea. What about you?
Yeah, agree with literally everything you said. I think that the reason they would be co-heads is just because Carrie Beck has the business know-how.
Yeah.
Right? Where Filoni started as an animator on King of the Hill. He was an animator and then eventually was like, well, I really love his storytelling. And then went on into writing and directing, and then did Avatar: The Last Airbender, the first couple episodes, and the finale of season 1, which is some of my favorite Avatar stuff. But neither here nor there. I think that's a match made in heaven. But you hit the nail on the head. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And the internet is very split on Dave Filoni right now. And despite everything that Henry Gilroy has said about the competition in Star Wars is stupid, if everybody thinks that Andor and Mandalorian and whatever else hate each other, as much as he can say that, all that you see on Star Wars Twitter is people talking about what a hack Dave Filoni is and how Andor is so much better than anything he'll ever do. But here's the thing, guys. And whether or not you believe that George was heavily involved in Clone Wars and heavily behind a lot of Clone Wars, what we can prove to be true is that, number one, George still comes back and visits set sometimes when Dave is working, which would imply that they had a good relationship, so they probably worked together quite a bit.
Yeah.
And two, the only thing that we can factually prove about Clone Wars and George's involvement is George went deep with his instruction and description of how the Force works. And he explained it with great detail to Dave Filoni. And I don't care what anybody says, the Force is what makes Star Wars special and unique, and it's what separates it from every other franchise that's out there. I'm not saying I want Jedi in every single project. Far from that, actually. Give us new stuff, give us new flavors. But if you get the philosophy of the Force wrong, you will really mess this up. You have to have... Dave Filoni is the choice because he got it explained so deeply from George.
Yeah.
He is the choice. Whatever you guys need to do to keep the Force from becoming gray Jedi power gaming nonsense, you do it. And the move is Dave Filoni, period. I don't care what anybody says. By the way, I'm not saying that Lucasfilm is taking... Disney is taking Lucasfilm from Kathleen Kennedy and giving it to Dave Filoni. If you think that's what's happening, you are incorrect. But there we go.
Yeah.
We did it. I think we made the right people mad. But yeah, he's the move. Because whether you like his writing or not, you have to have the philosophy right when it comes to the Force. It is not a superpower. It is a philosophical idea, and it has always been that. Okay, and here we are with a theater coworker that you have not met. Someone that I don't know very well, but I also do because we have been through it together. We were on a deck crew from 9 to 5 at the Granbury Opera House. And no disrespect to anybody, but that set was huge, and we moved all of it together. But either way, let's give a very warm welcome to an actor, a stage performer, a stage worker, just in all ways of theater. Let's give a warm welcome from all over this galaxy to Aimee Wilson. How are you, my friend?
Woo. I'm doing so good. A lot of life changes, as Matt and I were talking about before this. So I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Nice. And also, I forgot to say in the intro, big Star Wars fan. Big Star Wars fan that we had debates while working together about a movie that will remain nameless, but you probably know what it is already. But okay, so as I was telling Aimee, and as you know, audience, this podcast is all about getting to know new Star Wars fans, getting to know what this stuff means to them. And so to start from the very beginning, where were you when you first saw Star Wars, or what is your first Star Wars memory?
Okay, first off, I want to preface this, if anyone is watching this on YouTube, and also for you, Matt, that I, typed up notes because I thought this was going to be a phone call. It's so, if I just randomly, you see my eyes just darting back and forth, I'm looking at my notes.
Yes, but you're going to see me bouncing around and looking everywhere. But that's just ADD, man. It's all good. No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. What's your first memory?
Okay, so I wasn't someone that, their parents took them to go see the prequels. I mean, when the first prequel came out, I wasn't even, a thing yet, which I wasn't even a person, so it puts into the timeline of that. And then I was 4 when the last prequel came out.
Oh my.
So, I mean,
okay.
I would have been cheering on the theater, me and my infant self. I would have been there being like, yeah, go Anakin. It would have been my first words, but, so I didn't get into it until...
Wait. You would have been cheering on Anakin while he was murdering everybody?
Yeah. While he was murdering the younglings.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you knew what you were saying.
You know what, dude? I stayed by it. I don't want to.
You heard it here first. But all right. But so, what was your first actual conscious memory of all this stuff?
It's such a happy memory because there was a Christmas break. I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and my dad and I sat down and we watched. First, we started with Lord of the Rings, great series, and then we immediately, once that was done, my dad was like, "Okay, so we're gonna do Star Wars now." That was just the jump we're gonna make.
Right on. And
I remember 11-year-old me thinking, this is the greatest thing ever made. This is the greatest thing. It's so embarrassing because it comes up to this day, this screenshot of this text. But I remember texting my sister and being like, oh my god, I love Han and Leia so much. I hope they get together, because I had no idea. I had lived all my life without knowing the series or how it ended or anything. And so I was like wow, this Darth Vader guy, he's pretty evil. And it's really embarrassing because it still comes up, but it was just such a fun memory. It's such like a core memory. It's just like the joy and excitement I felt watching the New Hope for the first time and then watching all the others. Just such a good memory. Yeah.
And so, you saw A New Hope first?
Yes, we started
Nice.
with the originals. And I think we waited a while to watch the prequels because I think my dad hates the prequels, low key. And I think he might have just passed. He probably was like, you don't need to watch those.
I mean, I talk about it on the show a lot, but people forget that, like, Star Wars hate did not begin with the new movies. It started with the prequels.
The prequels. Oh
Right.
my goodness. I have heard those horror stories about young Anakin and how he has gotten pushed off the internet and off. I'm like, this poor
Yeah.
kid. He just was here for the check. Like, come on.
Yeah, man. He was like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But alrighty. So that was how your journey began as a
Yes.
Star Wars person.
Yes.
But as it has continued, who's your favorite hero?
Okay, so I'm very indecisive, so I have three. Because
Okay, that's fair.
I can't make a choice. So the first one is super cliche, and with all my answers are gonna be super cliche, but they're cliche for a reason. But I mean, I love Luke. You gotta love Luke.
Yes,
I love
absolutely.
a character that is just good. And
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like nowadays every movie is focused on like the bad boy or a dark kind of character, and I just miss the sassy, go-lucky, little plucky character that Luke was and his archetype of just the good hero. I mean, obviously he's very complex and we see that throughout his the originals, but I love Luke. And okay, so my second one is is Cassian Andor.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, I couldn't decide, and I don't even have a good reasoning. He's a cool character. He's amazing, and he's played so well, and I mean, these are two very opposite characters when I'm comparing Luke and Cassian, but I just love Cassian as a character.
Cool.
And then third one, this is very controversial, because it goes into canon and non-canon.
Oh, okay.
And also, if you consider her a hero or anti-hero or villain, but it's Mara Jade. I'm
Awesome.
a Mara Jade defender, and
Awesome.
yes, I desperately wish she would come to the movies. It's never gonna happen because George Lucas hates her. And if we thought that the sequel trilogy had enough controversy, I cannot imagine giving Luke a wife. Like, oh my goodness, I don't think fans would like that.
Well, I don't know that you're right. I think a lot of people would like it. Again, she was created before people knew that Jedis couldn't get married and stuff.
Exactly.
They didn't know that. But yeah, George hated Mara Jade.
Yeah.
Well, so have you read books and stuff?
I've read some. I've not read them in a consistent order, and that's simply because I cannot find them in a consistent order. I guess I could go to not Goodwill. Sorry, got thrifting on the brain, but Barnes and Noble. But they're so expensive and whatever. But I have read some. Yes, I'm more
Right
of a. I have looked deep into the wiki, and I've looked into every source I could find about everything canon. I just not having read the sources entirely. But yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Wikipedia. We love us some Wikipedia. On the
I
course
love
of others.
Wikipedia, and
Right
and
on.
you know what? I love a character that starts out pretty flawed and evil and becomes good. And I think especially, this is hard to say, especially in the Star Wars universe, we have many good female characters that are heroines that are just good. But I don't think we have a lot that are like complex and evil first and then go. I think we almost had that with Rey, but then we got scared and JJ backed off. He was like, no, we're not going to go there. But,
Yeah.
and I love Luke. And so if I love Mara Jade too, it's loving Luke adjacently. So together,
Yeah.
I just love them. That was
No,
a long
I
answer
love
to
it.
say.
I love it. Well, And I wanted to spring off the one in the middle. So
Yeah.
Cassian Andor. At the
Yes.
time of recording, we're still a couple weeks away from Andor season 2 coming out. But how are you? Are you on the Andor season 2 hype train?
Well, I I am, but I'm not going to be able to watch it because I'm not going to have like signal where I'm moving in a few weeks.
Oh
And
man,
I'm
that's
not going to have
rough.
signal. And so I'm like, I guess I'm just going to have to stay off of all Star Wars everything because I don't want spoilers and uh I'm hyped, but I'm not as hyped because I know I won't be able to watch it as it's happening, which is half
That
the
is
fun. But
that is so sad.
I
Well,
know.
we will be watching it, and we'll be. But then by the time you come back from your contract, the whole season will have come out, and then you can watch
Exactly.
all of the
You can
Force of
binge it.
Others responses, and you
There you
can
go.
binge all of it together. But all right, so we got
You
three
excited?
favorite heroes. What is it? One more time.
Are you excited?
We talk about it on the it's a tonal thing for me. I am excited for there to be more, but I
Uh,
prefer a little more escapism in my Star Wars.
oh, say
Hot
less.
take, I know. Hot take, I know.
No, I
But
understand.
you know,
Yeah.
Andor's a fantastically made show. It's just it's
Hmm.
also intentionally they've called it Star Wars for grown-ups, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I am grown up. So okay. So
Someone just.
we got three favorite heroes. Who's your favorite villain?
Guess what? You're about to get three favorite villains. Okay, so for the first one, this is why it's gonna be the most basic answers. But okay, so dare I say Kylo Ren. And now hear
Cool.
me out for this one. So when I first watched Force Awakens, oh my gosh, I hated Kylo. I could not stand Kylo. I found him very annoying, very whiny, all the basic things you've heard a million times before in argument of Kylo. Um, and then, so you didn't think we were going to talk about Last Jedi, and then I stuck it in there. But when Last Jedi came out, we got to see Kylo be not only like deeply regretful that he had killed his father and have very complex feelings about that and have this deep longing for intimacy that he kind of sees with Rey, but we also get to see him truly have this quest for like power and a truly need for like deep control, which I think together is just such a good pairing for like a complex villain of just the fact that you can see them and you can see the goodness in them and you can also see how the darkness is just continuously winning their internal battle. And that's why I love Kylo so much. It's just because I mean, we kind of saw that similarly in Anakin, but I like the route they went with Kylo, and I also think Adam Driver is an incredible actor, and he really sold it for me. So,
Well, and you know now, listeners, the movie we bickered about was Last Jedi. I say bickered. I hope it was respectful.
no,
I
it
know
was
this was like a couple years ago now, but
yeah.
I
Oh,
hope I wasn't a little turd about it. But
no,
I love everything they did with Kylo Ren in
hmm
Last Jedi. All of
yeah,
my bickers are or my quibbles are purely reserved for the Luke Skywalker of it all. But keeping it with you,
fair.
give us your two other favorite villains.
If I want someone that is truly just baby girl, we gotta go with the classic Palpatine. um,
Yeah.
Just someone who's truly evil. I love his little laugh. And he is, as much as I hated Rise of Skywalker, seeing him again is just so much fun. I love that character. He's just so evil. He's the only reason I love the prequels, just because he's so fun. And
Uh-huh.
then my third one, I have to look at my notes because I want to pronounce her name right, is Trilla Siduri, and she is the
Yeah, yeah.
second sister in Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. And she is such a fun character to go up against, even though she is the reason I cannot complete that game, is because she keeps killing me. But she is so fun as a character, and like I said before, I love a complex villain woman, heroine, not heroine, just woman. But yeah, I love her. So those are my three.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of being able to complete video games, we talk about on the show several times. I'm terrible at video games. When I play one, it is on the easiest setting I can get my hands on.
Because then at
But
least you enjoy it, you know? You can enjoy it. You don't have to worry about dying all the time.
and I'm there for the story, man. Like I'm over the whole like getting all the combos exactly right so that I can get the highest score. I'm here for the Star Wars story. But I
Have
love
you,
those answers.
have you
What were
played
you gonna
Red
say?
Dead Redemption
I have.
2? Yeah.
I have not. I played the first
Fair
one.
enough. I've been
Yeah.
playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on easy mode just because I just want to just see the land. I want to go steal a horse. I want to just go and enjoy my life and not stress about getting killed by outlaws every 5 minutes and I'm going to restart my game. I'm also
Yeah,
bad
I
at
mean,
video games, so I'm
hey,
there with you in
there's
solidarity.
no shame in it. It's
No
all for
shame.
fun.
All for fun.
But all
Yeah.
right. So we got 3 favorite heroes and 3 favorite villains.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite random alien or background character that's like your favorite, or do you have 3 of them?
Well, I'm gonna give you 2 guesses.
Oh, guesses?
No, like how many I have.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I gotta go with a solid, reliable stormtrooper number 5 that hits his helmet on the opening door in New Hope.
Nice.
Or I like that space cow in Last Jedi. Ooh, controversial.
The space cow.
Yeah, the thing that Luke.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's got a name and I can't
said it,
remember.
so you would have that reaction.
Oh my gosh. Is that actually one of your favorite
No.
Oh, okay.
And I just wanted to see your reaction for it. And 3, and I swear this isn't me just turning our episode into a Last Jedi conversation, or just the sequels in general, but my favorite extras, technically, or background characters, are the Knights of Ren, who did nothing and then they died. So, love them.
Right on. I mean, I wish that they did more. They were super cool when they were there.
I like their designs. They were cool. I
It
love
was
those.
fantastic.
Yeah, someone got
Yeah.
a good paycheck for being there.
Yeah, hey, the comic books with the Knights of Ren, rad. Highly recommend.
I've heard.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
But okay. Amy, if you had a lightsaber, what color would it be?
I was having this conversation the other day with somebody, and I think it would be purple. I
Cool.
think I would go the Samuel L. Jackson route and have purple. And it's not because I believe in all of the things that like all the colors symbolize. It's simply because I love the color purple and I think it would make a sick lightsaber.
It would.
I do know it symbolizes a lot of like complexities with the Force and having like light and dark connections to both. I googled this earlier because I was like, what am I signing up for with this purple one? But it would be purple. What about you?
Oh, blue. Blue all the
Blue?
way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I don't even necessarily remember what all the colors mean. But just it's probably the reason that blue is probably my favorite color in general is probably because of Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back.
Fair.
If I was able to psychoanalyze myself at whatever age I saw that movie for the first time, it was probably like, his sword is blue. I like that.
I like blue. And your shirt's blue.
And the wall behind me is blue.
And the
Or
wall
blue
behind you is blue.
adjacent. So I didn't even plan it. It just happens that way.
There you go.
But okay. So if you could have a Star Wars tattoo, what would it be?
I think I've been wanting to get like a small X-wing, like just like a very mini on my wrist. Either that or I think a sketch outline of the twin suns on Tatooine would be so cool if I did it in color. I think that would be
Cool.
so cool. Yeah.
Cool. I want to comment on that. Like I don't remember if you're like the 10th or 15th or we've done a lot of interviews now in this many episodes, but you might be the 10th person that has said something about the twin sons of Tatooine.
Yeah.
That's just like
It's
everybody.
so
Everybody
iconic.
wants that.
It's
Yeah.
such an iconic part of Star Wars, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's so, like, I think if anyone saw it, they would immediately be like, oh, that's Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so quintessential. I love it.
Yeah. Hard
Yeah.
agree. Okay. So, then we get into some of the hard-hitting stuff, or I guess the more personal stuff. What
Yeah.
is your favorite Star Wars story?
Okay, so I didn't know if you meant like comic or person or whatever, and so I just went reliable with a movie.
Cool.
But I'm actually not, I'm gonna beat your expectations here because I think you have something in mind, but it's not what it is. My favorite isn't Last Jedi, it's Rogue One. And
Cool.
I love Rogue One. I saw it the day Carrie Fisher died, which I think really did something. Is because it was just I read the news, walked into the theater, and she's at the end, so it just solidified it more of like, oh, this is a special day. Sad day, but special day for that. But I love like what did I even put in my notes? I worded this so well. Okay, I love I'm just rambling over here, and in my notes, I'm like eloquently speaking. I'm like, oh my god. I love contained, like episodic like stuff, and almost like bottle episodes. If you hear that in movies, and I just love where you have a set number of characters, and they have one thing. It's very similar to like a heist movie where you have one thing. Let's go see if you can do it. And so I love those types of bottled stories, and Rogue One was so fun. I loved the characters. I loved that it wasn't this huge intergalactic thing. I mean, this was the first time that the Skywalkers weren't directly involved in a story, at least that I had seen. And so I think this is one of the times where I was like, oh yeah, Star Wars doesn't just have to be this Hatfields and McCoys of these two families, it can be so much bigger. And so, and even though it ties into the Skywalker story, it is very much a story of its own characters and who they are. And even if they aren't like the most detailed or the most complex, like they work so well together in this like found family type arc. And even though it's not this intergalactic scale where we're jumping around to a million planets and meeting a bunch of different types of alien creatures and people, it's still so important to the overall Star Wars narrative. And also, low-key, I'm a writer myself, and I'm very sadistic, and I love writing characters that have their own struggles to overcome, having them overcome it, and finding found family, and then dying at the end of the story. And so I just loved it, and I loved the ending. I loved the ending of these people that didn't really have a lot to live for or a lot to fight for or a lot of personal motive in this huge war that's going on, and they were just like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna help the rebellion. We are going to spend our lives doing this. I mean, obviously, Cassian has ties, but like if we're talking about Jin or even like that robot, man. I'm sorry, I don't know if I should curse.
It's okay. I'll look at the time code.
Move out.
K2SO.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what is his name? But I just love Rogue One, and people have tried dissuading that opinion over the years of being like, oh, it's not actually as good as you think. But I love that type of story, and it really works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I'll debate you about stuff, but I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong for liking something.
Yeah.
I love Rogue One.
Yeah.
I all my quibbles with Andor don't really exist for Rogue One. Rogue One
Yeah.
is so operatic and is so huge and is so larger than life, while
Yeah.
also being very small and contained, like you were talking about. I was gonna say
feel-
something else, and I lost it. Well, go ahead.
It's
No, go
just
ahead.
easy to love. It's not, I think even though it's kind of by a numbers type story, like we've seen it before with other types of mediums, but it's just easy to love in the format that it's in. And I don't think it would have worked in any other, like, it wouldn't have worked as a trilogy, it wouldn't have worked as a TV show, it wouldn't have worked if we had introduced, like, suddenly Luke is on this mission. I think it's just so good with the characters that are in it and their fates at the end of it. It's just, it works so well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember it was so funny. I got caught up in some fan speculation leading up to Rogue One because I loved Force Awakens, still do, and I was hyped, and my Star Wars fandom had peaked, right? Mm-hmm. And I was convinced, because, you know, fanboy by trade and heart, I thought Rey was Luke's kid, right? I thought they were setting up another I Am Your Father, and then I saw what I didn't know was a fan-made promo image, but was a fan-made promo image of Jyn Erso putting on a Red 5 helmet. And so I was like, that's why they're going back.
Ooh.
Jyn Erso's Canon Mara Jade. She's Rey's mom! And which was so stupid, because then they made fun of it at one point where Felicity Jones, that's not her name. Is that her name? Did I get it right?
Something. I don't know if it's Jones, but it's definitely Felicity.
That's definitely not. I just realized I have to look this up to save myself. I don't. I mean, you might be right, but it is Felicity Jones. Okay, so
okay,
nerd cred kept. Well done. Well done. Anywho, but I saw a skit with, I think it was like College Humor or something, of her making fun of Star Wars fans, where just because I'm a brunette and British doesn't mean I'm Daisy Ridley's mom. Grow up. And I was like, oh.
Dang.
That hurt me. But I was convinced that, and so the movie was like slightly hurt by expectations for me at the time.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say, I had the exact same experience in relation to Rogue One and Carrie Fisher's passing. Mm-hmm. For me, it was like my second or third time to see the movie.
Yeah.
Because that was back when Star Wars came out at Christmas, which I loved because it's Christmas break. Go see Star Wars 3 or 4 times. But I sat down to watch it, and as I was reaching to turn my phone off, I got a news alert, and it was that Carrie Fisher had just passed. And I was like, oh, and then I sat knowing that the movie was going to end with her saying hope.
Yeah.
Which still is very meaningful and very cool.
Yeah.
That legacy happens, and then that she gets to give such a fantastic posthumous performance in The Last Jedi. But anyway, I had that exact same experience. It's wild that all that happened at the same time. But okay, it's your favorite Star Wars story, so different vibe, but equally like personal to you. What does Star Wars mean to you?
Okay, before I get into this, I also just want to say, when you spoke about a Star Wars coming out around Christmas, I had a friend in high school whose dad was so obsessed with Star Wars. They had 2 Christmas trees, and one was entirely Star Wars decorated, and Yoda was at the top. And they would re-watch Star Wars every Christmas and say it was a Christmas movie, like a Christmas movie. So I just needed to throw that tidbit in there.
Right on.
But okay, so I worded this really well in my little notes. But Star Wars to me really encapsulates the infinite possibilities that sci-fi can take when you are creative and when you have no limits on your world. Like, Star Wars is a universe that is so big and wide, you could do literally anything with it. You could, like, if we're talking about movie genres, you could have a horror movie, which we kind of saw low-key in Rogue One, and I think that's why I like it a lot, is that scene where Darth Vader is in the ship and the lights go off, and I just love that. I was like, more of this, please. You could have a thriller, you could have entirely action, you could have so many opportunities that all exist in this universe, and that's just for genre alone. I think, like, let me look at my notes. Yeah, it resembles hope so well to me, and not only hope, but a very cheesy joy that you always can share with someone. And I think that's something that you can see right now with this podcast, is you get to talk to so many people. I think my favorite memory is that my dad skipped school when he was a kid and went to the theaters and saw Star Wars. like in the theater. And he so strongly remembers like the original Jabba the Hutt. So like when we rewatched them out on DVD, he was looking at the CGI thing. He was like, that's not what I remember. But I just think there's so much beauty in the fact that my dad got to enjoy this as a kid, and then however so many years later, we get to sit down and he gets to share it with me as a kid. And that just shows this beauty in this thing, and not only in the way we can share it with other people, but also just the way I truly believe that someone's favorite movie of Star Wars relates to the first time they watched it. And so, like, if you watch the prequels as a kid, you're gonna love the prequels. If you watch the original, you're gonna love the original. If you watch the sequels, you're gonna love the sequels. And so, for me, when I watched New Hope as an 11-year-old, and I had so much joy that now, even when I rewatch it, I feel that same joy. And I think that's something just so incredible, is that it has such long-lasting hope and optimism and enjoyment for anyone, no matter how old it grows to become. Like, it's almost, like 40 years old now? 50?
We're coming up on 50. In 2027, 50. It will be 50 years old.
And that is just so cool, the fact that something is still going that long. And it means such hope and happiness and optimism to me. And it really, Star Wars reminds me of why I not only love filmmaking and the art of making a film like Star Wars, which literally created the blockbuster, but why I love storytelling in general and all the possibilities that come with sci-fi and how fun that can be, and how beautiful Star Wars has become. I mean, I think about all of my friends and loved ones that I have made through just being in this fandom, like meeting at Comic-Con or writing fan fiction together in middle school or whatever it may be. Like, it's just such a joy and a beautiful world to be a part of. And I mean, not only that, but Star Wars is what got me into sci-fi. And when I look at all the things that inspired Star Wars, like Dune or Star Trek or the Valerian comics, like, those are all such things I enjoy now too, that I wouldn't have probably ever have gotten into, or wouldn't have gotten into it as early as I did if I hadn't seen Star Wars and really appreciated it. And I know people that, you know, they don't really like movies, they don't really like sci-fi, and they love Star Wars. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing. And I think not only for myself, but for so many other people, it's such a lifesaver. Not lightsaber, lifesaver.
Love it. Love the answer.
There's my beautiful poetic thing.
Say, I could. There you go. You got it in there. You found the notes. Yeah. But okay. So we have reached the end of our interview portion, and now it's time for pain. Now it's time to prove. No, I'm just kidding. It's not time to prove nothing.
This is when it's going to come out that I'm such a casual fan.
I'm messing with you. So, the ridiculous Rathtar, random hard trivia question. Nobody loses. You do not lose this question, because it is so small and granular and stupid that either you get it right and it's like, wow, way to go, or you don't and it's like, cool, you have a life. So there's no losing. I make it preposterous to where, like, you shouldn't feel bad if you don't know this. But
I'm ready.
In honor of our many conversations about The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Right? That for now we'll keep off screen, but we'll bring you back at some point and we'll talk about it.
Yes.
So in The Last Jedi, when Admiral Holdo is announced, what battle does Poe Dameron name? When he's like, Admiral Holdo? Battle of Admiral Holdo?
I'm trying to... I hear Oscar Isaac's voice in my head, and I'm trying to... My God, I'm such a fake fan.
This is insane. He looks right at a battle of blank Admiral Holdo? Not what I expected.
Matt, we're going to take a 5-minute break as I go and rewatch the.
No, it's okay. It's fine. Lose with pride. If you're gonna lose,
I don't know.
it's not anything that has existed before since Battle of Chiron Belt.
That's stupid. I don't like that. They were just making Mad Libs that day.
Oh, straight up. Well, but that's what Star Wars does.
It
It's no
is, I
different
love
than it's no different than Lando. Must have heard about that maneuver I did at the Battle of Tanab, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's just something that happened off screen.
Did you
But
like
okay,
Solo?
so yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Did you like Solo?
loved it. Absolutely loved it from moment
Okay.
one. I ate it up with the biggest spoon I could get my hands on. Did you like Solo or did you not like it?
I need to rewatch it. I watched it on a family vacation, like so many years ago, and the only memory I have of it is that we went to Chili's after, and I got a Solo cup that has a stormtrooper on it. I remember liking it. I remember liking it and not understanding why so many people hated it.
On the nose.
I was like, it's not that bad. I don't get I'm trying to remember any of the arguments I heard for it, but
Well, the thing is, the only arguments that I've ever heard for people not liking it had nothing to do with the movie itself. That was the first of the Disney Star Wars movies to not come out at Christmas, and it came out in the summer. So it came out, like, if I remember right, it hit in May of 2018, and it was like less than 6 months after The Last Jedi came out, and The Last Jedi, while beautifully made, was the discourse-producing film that it was.
oh man,
In many
it was-
ways, split the fandom in two. You could argue for the better or for the worse, but that's for a different time. And then to have a movie come out less than 6 months later, the first time you've ever done that with this franchise, and they severely undermarketed it.
yeah,
So
definitely.
all the arguments that I heard were that people just didn't want to see it because they were like, we just saw a Star Wars movie, and so they just didn't even go check it
Oh,
out.
they got burnt out. Is that
Yeah,
the
it was-
argument? Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everybody that I know that has seen it has gone, it's a fun movie, man. Like, it makes me sad because I would love to live in a universe where we got like 2 more because they were ready and they were working on them. They were writing them.
I think the problem with now, I might be opening a can of worms when I say this because I am being very hypocritical here. But I think
Okay.
sometimes people expect too much from Star Wars.
Fair.
I think sometimes, like, not all of it, because, like, definitely there's Star Wars properties that want to be a very complex, different thing. But I think Solo, from the marketing I saw and from the story I heard that it was going to be, I was very much like, oh, this is just a summer fun movie. Like, I don't know why we are wanting it to be this grand thing or why we want Harrison Ford to slap on a brown wig and just call it a day, you know? But I don't know. I just think sometimes, I think ever since The Last Jedi, people just always just take Star Wars a little too seriously.
Well, I'm gonna
And I say
going back to 1999 when I was 10 and
Yeah.
Phantom Menace came out. You want to talk about people reacting negatively
Oh, it was
to a
the same
Star
way?
Wars movie.
Ooh.
That, like, you can look up a documentary called "The People versus George Lucas," which was a fan-made documentary, and it's about 2 hours of people talking about how George Lucas ruined their childhood with the prequels. Like, all of and real talk,
Shouldn't be
like,
laughing.
yes,
Shouldn't be laughing.
people do take Star Wars so seriously, but like you mentioned Jake Lloyd earlier, the actor that played young Anakin.
Yes.
Ahmed Best, the performer that played Jar Jar Binks, told a story about debating whether or not it was worth continuing on
Yeah.
in this life.
Oh my
after
goodness.
all the pushback that he got, but then what a win it was for him to be in essentially the same place he was standing when he was having those thoughts with his son 20-something years later when he got to be the Jedi on The Mandalorian and got treated as a hero. And everybody was like cheering, yeah, Ahmed got a win. And he was like, it's
Beautiful.
a good thing that I kept going. But people have always taken Star Wars too seriously. I think it's because we weren't around, but 50 years ago, there hadn't been anything that was this universal with the effects this good and the music this good that everybody was able to put whatever they love onto this franchise, and they all saw it when they were children. So now new ones are coming out, and they're looking at it through the lens of someone that saw something perfect when they were 7. And now they're 36 or whatever, and they're like, it's not perfect. I don't like it.
I slightly want to take it back because I don't.
Sure.
I think it's okay to take something seriously when you deeply care about it, and I think that's the thing about Star Wars is like a lot of the fans deeply care about it.
Yeah.
But I guess my point to that was just like when a movie looks like it's gonna be just a fun, silly blockbuster, don't expect a lot from it. I think that's probably why I liked Rogue One so much and why it got such good reviews is because we didn't have anything to really compare it to, maybe? You know?
Yeah. And I apologize. I wasn't trying to be like, you're wrong, Amy. They've always been serious.
You're good. I didn't take it like that.
Because I agree, like that's one of the problems with this fandom, that now that I have a podcast and half the conversations I have in the comments are people trying to tell me that the franchise I'm talking about is dead.
Ooh.
Because they don't like what Disney has done, so therefore it's dead to them. It's the whole thing of they love it so much that they become Sith about it.
Yeah.
They become Darksiders, and that they don't see the irony. It boggles my mind.
Yeah.
But what didn't boggle my mind was this interview. This was dope. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that you're about to head off to parts unknown if you want to keep them unknown on a contract. But upon your return, we will have this Last Jedi debate that we have teased. The listeners have heard to death my whines about Luke Skywalker's arc, but let's make them wait for your if I remember right, very, very eloquent defense. No pressure.
We can call it the people against or for Last Jedi. And we can bring George Lucas on. You can do that, right? Let's bring him on.
If I got George Lucas on, I don't even know what I would devolve it. I think I would turn into a puddle of like, just I would be like, you remember when you made the Star Wars? That was cool.
It was cool, right? How'd that feel?
And that's about all that I would. And he'd be like, yeah, it was 50 years ago. I moved on since then. You should too. I'd be like, I can't, George. But speaking of moving on, we got to get rolling. But Amy, thank you for doing this very, very much. It's fun to hang out with friends. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are a smart person, and you're a Star Wars person, and you're a cool person, most importantly. Yeah. All right, well, Amy, thank you very, very much for hanging out on The Force of Others. And remember, the Force of Others will be with you. Always.
The
I like the finger guns.
A Star Wars podcast.